5 score years ago, a great American signed and proclaimed, we know, the emancipation that brought a beacon light of hope. Plenty of slaves who had been seared called Negro, the flame of injustice, and now 100 years.
Today we are interviewing the man who spearheads a historic compilation album in response to a historic presidential campaign. The album I'm talking about is called Yes We Can, Voices of a Grassroots Movement, which includes 18 songs and boasts a stellar collection of artists from across genres, including Stevie Wonder, Sheryl Crow, John Mayer, Kanye West, Jill Scott, Los Lonely Boys, Jackson Browne, and John Legend, to name a few. The album also features excerpts from Obama's speeches and all highlighting his mantra, Yes We Can. Behind the release of this album is Hidden Beach Records CEO and founder Steve McKeever. And he's not too shabby either. He's been named one of the 50 most powerful African Americans in the entertainment business. And in February of 2004, he was also recognized by the Artist Empowerment Coalition, the AEC, which, get this, is an artists' rights advocacy group. And he was the only music executive that received this honor. Steve McKeever, you sound like our kind of guy. Welcome to Fame Games, the show helping unsigned and independent artists break commercial network radio apart. A historic movement of our own. It is a great honor to meet you and to bring your message to our listeners.
Oh, well, it's a great honor to meet you too, DJ Crier. I'm really excited about what the efforts of what you guys are doing over there, and it really is a sort of similar mission, I think, from our two organizations, bringing about attention and embracing some of the great art in what we call real artists and artists with something to say is what we're really here for.
That's wonderful. My first question is, we are days away from potentially electing the most historic U.S. president the world has ever seen. In light of this, what is your message? What moved you to release this compilation album for the Obama campaign?
What we've really done here is, I think, tapped into a movement that started quite organically. I think very much because of the ideals of the campaign have been very, very similar to what we have been as an independent record company. We kept getting phone calls and emails that you guys are the perfect company to sort of take on this challenge of doing something that hasn't been done before, which is putting together a compilation to coincide with the presidential campaign. Initially, when it came up, the hurdles seemed so daunting to get past when you talk about the federal election laws and trying to do this as a fundraising tool. And some really amazing folks inside the campaign who had a tradition of sort of thinking out of the box helped work with us to put this together. And as a result is the record that you described in your opening that we're all so proud of right now.
I want to know a little bit more about the project, some of the, fun details. Like, who was the first to jump on board? Was there anybody that played hard to get? A little bit more about how the Obama campaign participated, and where does the money go?
Well, probably the first song that knew I was going to put on this record was the song that seemed to really speak to the heart of what this campaign is, which is by B.B. Winans, called I Have a Dream. And that song, which came about in the most unusual ways, when B.B. went to the piano to write a song inspired by the famous 1963 I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King. When he came away from the piano, he dawned on him and he realized that he didn't write a single word, that every word in this is directly a quote from the speech. And something we did with BB a few years ago. And that was one of the songs that we knew at the very, very beginning that we were going to put on here. One of the first artists to be contacted is Stevie Wonder, for example, who has been a long-time supporter. I'm proud to have introduced those two guys years ago before Barack's present-day ascension. And so I always knew that Steve had a history of socially conscious music was going to be a part of the project. But when we finally got the real green light through the campaign, the process was a simple letter that I wrote, sent to some artists that we knew who were working on material, as well as to record companies and publicists, and we were able to put it online in a few places. Within just really almost 48 hours, we had about 150 remarkable submissions.
I can imagine.
And I'd say since then, Obama campaign playlists, I think it reached over 10 hours long. But also the goal was to make the album as diverse as the campaign is. And actually, from Buddy Miller, a country act, to Yolanda Adams, a gospel, artist, to John Mayer, more of a rock act, Dave Stewart. In fact, some of the songs in and themselves are very diverse. There's an artist, Malik Youssef, who's a spoken word artist, who worked with Kanye West producing a song. But Kanye brought in Adam Levine from Maroon 5. So on the one song, Promised Land, you have Malik, a spoken word artist, Kanye, rapper, and Adam Levine, the front man of one of the biggest bands in the world right now, all coming together for a common message. So it's from Sheryl Crow to Jackson Brown, and then some artists led to telling other artists about it. And in fact, that's how Jackson Brown heard about our record from another artist. And again, we had a very short period of time to try to effectuate our plans or to put them together. And we had artists, from Alicia Keys and people who were overseas, who were on the road, who didn't have something necessarily recorded or started on, or people who couldn't just make the timeline. But I don't know what the actual number, but it's astounding of the sort of outpouring that's happened from neighborhood musicians, unsigned acts, to professional artists, has been really across the gamut, and from really every genre, sort of known across the board.
We had an artist here on Fame Games. His name is Mark Black. 2 weeks ago, he made our finals. The chorus was amazing. It was all about Obama and the campaign, and we were shocked because he wasn't even in the running in the semifinal the day before. We aired that on the semifinal on the Thursday. Friday, the voting went mad overnight, and he made the final with that track. And to me, it was speaking more about the movement than sometimes maybe even about the song. It was the message that was so important. So it was exciting to see that happen. And then a coincidence that here we are with you now, talking about this compilation album. Now, from our conversation, I'm gathering that you've met Barack Obama well before he was in politics. Would that be correct?
No, he was in politics when we met. I'm from Chicago, so we have family and friends who've known him pre-politics. But he's been in politics for quite some time.
Right.
He's not just on a national level. He was a state senator for several years before his run for the U.S. Senate.
Well, my question is, knowing what you know, and obviously you being really tight with the music industry for some years now, can you comment on how you would see an Obama presidency affecting the music industry? Will struggling but very talented independent artists finally be counted?
Well, I know that the odds against the independent in pretty much every area has been stacked against them, and I even say us. As we count ourselves as an independent, in several respects over the last years, and definitely through the last probably administration, where here in the U.S. especially, where there's been a pretty much an unfettered call for deregulation. Nearly 80% of what we hear, read, and see are controlled by 6 eventual companies, which is pretty staggering to any independent trying to find a voice. Now, there's great things that have happened that really can break that logjam, like the internet. But I know that while Barack is a believer in the basic system of this country and the free market,